Okay, let's start this thing. Hey, Michael, nice to see you. Let me give me a second. I want to make sure I let everybody know. Okay. All right, so let's start. Hey, Zane, nice to see you. Okay, so let's dive in the chart. So this chart is part of a set of tools that I developed. These are trading view indicators that are all based on the power law, understanding the power law, different aspects of the power law. Right now, we have about 7 indicators that show different aspects of the power law, different ways of looking at it. These indicators are, now we'll have some links in the comments, but it's basically from our website. It's called Bit Poseidon, B B-I-T, like the god, right? Poseidon, bitposeidon.com. So if you go in that website, we have a newsletter that you can sign up. It's a free newsletter where I'm sending different articles, different ideas, about Bitcoin. Also, there are some previous articles that you can read about Bitcoin. There are links to our videos. It's going to be more and more like a hub. Eventually, we're going to have even lectures about the power law, so people can see where we are, because we did a lot of work, and there are more and more people coming in and learning about the power law. But sometimes they think it's just a straight line that we draw through the data, so we are not aware of all the information, all the knowledge that has been developed around the power law. I want to have a place to organize all this information. Eventually, there will be a book. I'm writing a book, but for now, this will be kind of a hub where you can get all the information. And there is I don't know, I do almost everything through the computer, because this is where, unfortunately, I live most of the time in front of my screen. But I know that many young people use the phone all the time, so I don't know exactly how it looks like, and maybe I should explore it and see how you look at how you see the website. It should be like a place where you see the tabs, with all the different things on the website, and there is a tab that talks about the indicators. But and then some in the community don't like self-promotion. I don't understand why, because we should be supporting the people that are trying to make a job to be of service to the community. This is how I see it. I'm doing a service. Okay, I could do many different things. I could be paid much more, but I'm using my knowledge, my 30 years of experience in science, in analyzing Bitcoin, and then sharing this knowledge with people. And I know that it's just part of human nature. You always think, oh, why this guy is doing this, because he's trying to sell me something. I could make much more money doing many other things. In fact, I actually talk with possible investors in funds. They want to work with me, and that is actually one of the things that they've told me. Say, you should stop, if you work with us, you should stop giving people basically free information, because for them, I'm giving away free information. Okay, it's ridiculous what they think what we ask in terms of support. It's basically symbolic. So you can think whatever you want. You're free, but to me, the reward is actually in sharing and being part of a community and offering a service. And many people contact me every day, tell me how the power law helps them, because in the end, the power law is not about really trading. It's about understanding that we are going up, like many people say, but we tell you why. We tell you the math reasons, the physics reason, the logic, the network, the adoption, all the knowledge that is associated with the Bitcoin, with the power law. It's something that should help you, even if you are a hodler, because it gives you a scientific basis on which to put the foundation to think, okay, yes, it's a solid investment. It's different. One of the things that we show all the time, how Bitcoin is different from everything else, from gold, from Nasdaq. So I don't know why you wanted some of the what they call the exponential bros want Bitcoin to behave like other assets. They don't follow the power law. There is beauty in the power law. There are reasons why the power law is superior as a process that Bitcoin follows versus all what everything else does. It makes Bitcoin unique, and also allows it to do the things it needs to do because it's a process that is controlled. It's basically what I say. It's the difference between an atomic bomb, like some of the shit coins do. They explode, they go to real crazy prices and they crash, right? And Bitcoin that does this thing in a very gradual fashion, that is still very fast, but in an organized, gradual fashion that is predictable. It's unique to Bitcoin. So to me, it's important to deliver this message, share it with people, share the knowledge, and at the same time, we do it in such a way we offer a service. So if you're interested in the service and you think that has value to you, and also you want to support in general my work, my son work, because my son is also working. We're bringing in other people. We're creating a team. I have a team of developers that are preparing apps and other things like that. So if you want to support us and you think there is value, there is nothing wrong, absolutely nothing wrong in being a Bitcoiner professional, like many people are in the field, and they get remunerated, right? So we are trying to do it in the most, let's say, ethical way through a Patreon program. So, and I will stop plugging myself in a minute. Sorry if I have some cough. I'm still dealing with COVID, unfortunately. I got COVID while I was at the Bitcoin conference, so while I was traveling. So anyway, yeah, so if you go there and you look at this tab that says power law indicators, there is a link to the Patreon. This is how you get. Right now, just to give you a feeling, we made it such way that is the entry level is so low, just with $5 you support us, you became part of a Discord member, Discord group. We have about 500 people or more. We have lectures lectures. There are meetings 4 times a week. Friday we discuss about coding. Share how to plot yourself. If you want to plot the power law, we use Python. I teach you how to code for free. Basically, everything. Once you get in, everything is free. We have Monday meetings where we train people on how to use the indicators. We have Tuesday meetings where we discuss different things, questions. We basically became a group, and we share thoughts, idea. So it's a very nice initiative that if you want to get in, it just costs $5 a month. It is symbolic, mostly to filter out anybody that will not be serious and committed to be part of the community. And you get one of these indicators as part of joining the group. But if you want access to all of them, my suggestion is getting the $20. And we made a pledge that we will never charge more than $20 unless there is hyperinflation, I guess. We want to keep it reasonable. Basically, it's almost symbolic. And you get 7 indicators. And, if you ever bought any indicator online, that people charge hundreds of dollars for one indicator. Is what usually people that actually professionally write indicators is what they charge. Okay, so you can see it's a very good value. And I'm making all the time new indicators, and you don't have to pay anything extra. And again, I could stop here. I do it because I want people to have tools. I'm working on a MicroStrategy indicator right now, for example, that if people want to play with MicroStrategy, they can see the relationship between MicroStrategy and Bitcoin, so we can make informed decisions. So we're going to explore liquidity more. So it's really an interesting project, and if you want to support, please join us through the Patreon, okay? And I will stop here to talk about that so we can actually talk about the market. So first of all, the nice thing, we're going up, right? 64,000. So this indicator actually gives you a live reading of the prices is changing on a moment by moment basis. It's good at the same time, to be honest, I'm going to show you in a moment our indicator. Hopefully you can see it. So for example, if we switch to this one, that is our liquidity indicator, and I will tell you in a moment how this indicator is created, what is the logic behind. But to make it short, to summarize it, basically, it's not just liquidity per se, that many people show that. My problem with many analysts, sometimes they show some kind of a metric that they think is relevant, like, how many coins we have on exchanges. Okay, there is a decrease of these coins on the exchanges. And what? How that impacts the price. Do you have any graph that shows that decreasing the coins in an exchange brings the price up, right? You will think it's so, right? You will use your reasoning, but many times we are wrong on these kind of things, right? Our intuition is not supported by the data, and everything I do is very consistent. I never make a claim unless I have some data to support it. Now, the interpretation of the data, what the data means, you can agree, you can disagree, and this is why I want you to learn how to do these things, because then you can make your own decisions on the information. I give you information, give you my interpretation, and then you can, as a good Bitcoiner, you should never trust anybody, me included, and you should verify yourself. And maybe you come up with a different interpretation and actually share it with me, because if it is a valid interpretation, I want to understand it. Maybe I can learn something from you. Or we all, we are a community. We all can learn from each other. But so I want to always, sorry for this. I always want to know, okay, the liquidity is changing, but how is impacting the price, right? And so this is what I did. I created a model, and again, you can read. I wrote an entire article. It's in the website, BitPoseidon website, and the article explains the logic how we did it. But basically, supposedly, if I did everything correctly, this purple line represents what the current value of Bitcoin is based on the available liquidity and the relationship, the historical relationship between liquidity and price. So I have a model, I observe, I find a very specific relationship between price and liquidity. Is a complicated one. It's not a simple power law. The beauty of something like a power law is that it's such a simple relationship that you are really not even modeling anything. You're just reporting in a different way, in a way that emphasizes the signal. What is the relationship between price and time, for example? With liquidity, is much more complicated, unfortunately. There is a relationship. You can see that it's no. So if there was no relationship and you plot price versus liquidity, it will look like a blob, right? It doesn't look like a blob. It looks like a very nice curve. The only problem, what is that curve, right? It's not easy. It's not an exponential. It's not a power law. So you have to come up techniques where you can try to model it. But it becomes at a certain point a little bit arbitrary. You have to be careful. So we need to take this with a grain of salt. But in theory, if we update on a current basis the model, we make it relevant to the current time. This purple curve should tell us how the price responds to increased liquidity. That is the relevant quantity. Because if I plot just liquidity by itself, you don't know. how it's going to affect the price. So it's much better, much more valuable metric than liquidity per se. Okay, so this is what I don't want you to trust me. I want you to learn things. So anytime you see any influencer, any analyst that plots something that they think is relevant for Bitcoin, ask yourself always one question: how this relates? Is there any chart that shows how this quantity that this guy is showing me that relates to price? Is price going up if this quantity goes up? Is price going down? And by how much? Okay, does it really affect the price? Because many times I notice, in particular, for example, that quantity that many people show, the supposed lack of Bitcoin on the exchanges, right? What sometimes they call the available liquidity. I made a graph of that quantity versus price, and it's not related. It's not related. Like your intuition will tell you, oh, there are less Bitcoin available, but that doesn't affect price. And if it doesn't affect price, if the data tell us so, I don't care. It's a made up quantity. It doesn't affect price in any possible way. So why should I care? Okay. So, but with liquidity, yes, there is a relationship, and this model purple line is trying to express that relationship. So how do you interpret a graph like this? The interpretation is, okay, liquidity is growing, is impacting the price, and it seems, that is a good sign, right? There's more and more liquidity, the price is going up. So this is the price that is justified by the existing liquidity. So right now, the price is about $41,600. So we are a lot above that value. That is not good, because what it means is that we don't have a lot of liquidity to support a bull run. It's not because, so with the right interpretation, because I hear this many times, oh, liquidity drives the price. It doesn't drive the price. They are not that strongly connected. What happens is, when we have bull runs, we need to have enough liquidity. So if you look at previous bull runs, like here, so this was the double top that we had the last cycle, first double top, first top, second top. This top I consider the real top, because it happened when usually the other tops happen. This is more like an anomaly. But you see what happens, what is the general pattern, is that we have this period where the purple line is above the white line. The white line is the pure price. It's just price, daily closing prices. And if a purple line is above, and you see I shade this region between the two curves in green. So that is a signal that we have enough liquidity, that the price is actually undervalued relatively to the available liquidity. And so the bull runs, basically what happens in the bull run, people get excited, they buy Bitcoin with more liquidity available. They do other things, they buy they buy gold, they buy the wrong things, they should buy just Bitcoin. But basically there is this transfer of liquidity to different assets, like for example Bitcoin. But the liquidity needs to be there, and this is what this graph is showing. Is there enough liquidity? Yes. And this was COVID. We had a correction. The price went, it didn't reach our support line, because this red line is the power law, and these are large deviations from the general power law. And this is basically where the support is usually hits. So it kind of came close to the support. It kind of touched it. It depends how you draw this line, but very close to the support, or even slightly below, and then bounce back, and this when the bull market started. And you can see it's identified by the presence of this green area. Now notice what happens once we started to come close to the top, the first one and the second one. We had the reverse situation. Basically, the liquidity didn't follow the biggest, the part where things got really, really crazy. And so there was a lack of liquidity. But in a sense, it's another signal for us to know that we are in bubble territory, that we are really in a place where probably the price is crashing. Because I want also to discuss this thing. There are so many people, right, in this field. Like sometimes I don't even know, are these really representative of a large group of people, or these are the loudest ones that make comments on my ex, etc. It's difficult to say. But so I don't know really what the majority of people think. Look, we have a lot of to see the reason of having 7 indicators is because we want to have all this in converging information, not just one piece of information, but 7, or in the future will be even more, where all of them say there is something wrong here. Okay, and what it is one of the components, one of the pieces of information that we want to use. If we see that the price is not supported because the liquidity is not there, and plus we have all the other indicators, the deviations from the trend, etc., it's probably going to crash. Okay, it's very unlikely that the market will do something completely crazy, say, oh, let me push this even further, to infinity. That is a very childish way of thinking about the market. It's not going to happen. So there will be a crash. Now, how big the crash is? Here you will have thought we go down all the way. We didn't, right? We had a second top. It's okay, because even if you sold, right, because the general idea that we are trying to share with people is not an imposition. We're not telling people need to do it. It's all up to you. I tell you the information, and then you make a plan. You're trying to use this knowledge. Should I do this? Should I do that? And there are many options. One of the things, even if you just hodling, that is something that the critics of this never take in consideration. I'm giving you some information where I'm telling you the market is overheated. So, for example, if you do monthly DCA, where you buy a little bit every month, one reasonable thing to do is to stop buying that month, put the money aside, still do it in a disciplined fashion. And I cannot stand when people come up with excuses that are treating people like if they were children, right? Say, oh, if you don't buy, then you will not do it. Well, then don't blame the idea, blame you that you are not disciplined, where, that month you still put some money aside, where, in a special place that is dedicated to buy Bitcoin, and you don't buy Bitcoin because it's not a good idea to buy it here when we can buy it here, So we know that we are too far away from the general trend. We have this additional information about liquidity not being there. Maybe it's a good idea, if you do DCA, to wait. What is wrong with that? Absolutely nothing. Okay. In fact, it's a smart thing to do. You can buy more Bitcoin if you do that. Okay. Now, you could say, listen, it's too complicated for me. I have to worry about too many things. I want to put just an automated buy on Robinhood, on whatever app you're using to buy your Bitcoin on a regular basis. I'm going to do that. Fine. There is nothing wrong with it. Nobody's blaming you. Nobody's attacking you. I'm just saying, if you want to optimize this process, consider this approach. Yes, it will take a little bit more awareness. It will take a little bit more work from you. It's not something that you have to do every single day. It will be just a particular window of time where you have to be doing something different. You can also change the weight. That, if you still continue to want to buy, you can say, I'm going to put 20% aside, or 30% aside, 50% aside, and I buy it 50%. That is another thing you can do. Again, really take some energy and time to think it through and make a plan. Yes, but nothing is free in life. So if you do it in a focused way, with knowledge, with a plan, with a spreadsheet in front of you, why not? There is nothing wrong. Actually, you will be rewarded if you do it in a logical way. You're spending time in learning about Bitcoin, and the cycles are part of what happens with Bitcoin. So you're not trading, you're just planning, and you're using your mind to actually multiply Bitcoin, because if you want to be a Bitcoiner and you want more Bitcoin, this is the logical thing to do it, So don't attack the people that want to do this and they want to learn. It's like somebody that is not good at sex and it comes there and does something very simple and the girl doesn't like it, Okay, you can do it, but if you do it with knowledge and you understand what the girl likes and how she works, maybe you get rewarded more, right? I'm sorry for the non-PR type of analogy, but it's a good analogy if you think about it. You're making love to Bitcoin. You're trying to understand it. You're trying to study Bitcoin, and you're trying to play with Bitcoin in the right way, right? Now, there are risks. Yes, there is a risk in everything. You cross the street, there is a risk, But the entire idea is, okay, you look left, you look right, no cars, I'm crossing, okay? So you do it with awareness. You're doing with focus. So if you do it, I'm showing you some logic behind what you should think and what you should consider. Again, with one goal, we want to multiply our Bitcoins. That is the goal. Well, there is nothing wrong with this, and anybody that says it is, they are lazy, they don't want to learn, they are, and it's different from the people that say, like I said, I'm going to distinguish people that attack this approach, this reasoning, from the people that say, listen, okay, I understand what you're saying. Good luck. I hope that you're successful, but it's not for me. I want, it's too complicated. I want to do something simple. I buy $100 worth of Bitcoin on Robinhood. I set it up in that way. I'm going to work hard so I can buy more Bitcoin. Okay, you're doing great. It's perfect. Okay, that works for you. You're doing great. It's a very, 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 very valid approach. Nobody, I will never tell you you're an idiot. Why are you doing this, etc. It works for you. What I don't like is when people criticize and attack what I'm saying, because what I'm saying is valid too. It requires time, it requires focus, it requires some work. It can be optimized. Eventually, we want to actually write an app that maybe helps you, because there is still emotions in doing this kind of thing. So if you have an app, maybe the app can take away some of that emotion. You set it up and it does certain things. It's, you can decide, I want to do just DCA and I buy in a proportional manner, or I sell in a proportional manner to where we are in the cycle. And I don't have to worry too, because it's all automated. There is an app to do it. Or you want to be aware and you want to be a participant, and you make a plan, you look at the chart, you use the indicators, and you make some decisions. Nobody can attack you for that. So this is why sometimes I fight with people when they attack this approach, because you can say whatever you want. It's not a wrong thing, and it's not a religion, where if you don't hodl at any cost, you're excommunicated and you're not part of the community anymore. It's just absurd. Anyway, so going back to the chart. So you see there is this pattern, and this pattern has been repeated over and over again. So every time before a bull, and the bull happen, I will show you the other indicators. We have a way actually to kind of tell when the bulls are happening, but they are always associated with this increase in liquidity. It's a pattern that has repeated all the time, all the different times. The only time where that didn't happen was, see, even here, it was with the real first bubble, and that bubble happened before the halving. So I always say that this bubble is really like an anomaly. The market cap was much smaller. You couldn't, you could manipulate very easily. So maybe just retailers were involved, and it was easy to push the price up. So it looks like it was more like the exception that confirms the rules. That in this case, we didn't need to have the liquidity to have a bubble. And it went up very fast in comparison, right? Even if you went just at about $30, then crashed very quickly. Another thing that we studied recently was, okay, which shape is this, right? What is this shape here? Is this a power law? No, it's not. It's an exponential. So it looks like the bubbles, they are very, very exponential. The behavior is exponential. You can actually fit an exponential curve. And the first bubble, if you're interested, we went up at about 1.6% a day. That is insane, because if you compound that for a long period of time, and this was from April to June, so it was several months where, unless consider the beginning year, but if you're thinking just here, there was several months of 1.6%, and this is why it went like crazy, right? It went from a fraction of a dollar to almost $30, and then the market decays, and it does it also in an exponential fashion. But you can see, right, the slope is smaller. So it looks like actually through all the different bubbles, we went down more or less at the same speed. That is interesting. We always go down at we lose about 0.23% per day when we go down. So it's a very precise pattern. But notice what happened. We always go back to the support every single time. We go back to the support. So this bubble happened. This one was more like 1.1%. It was still insane. This was the 2014. And then this one was even slower than the other ones. But when we go down, it seems that it's always the same, more or less the same speed when we go down. It's interesting. So we go up, we slow down when we go up over the years, but we always go down at the same speed. And notice what happened since the halving. This pattern has always been true, that we need to have enough liquidity. So going back to the current situation, right? I described this in other interviews or other videos, but basically I think we kind of overextended ourselves due to the FOMO associated with the ETF. Take it with a grain of salt. I don't like when people make stories, because but it's a story. In this case, it's a story supported by some evidence. So what big thing happened that made people excited and push the price up? It was the ETF, right? The main thing that happened. So it's kind of reasonable to say that was the cause. It's like here, for example, in the previous cycle, it's very reasonable to say we got excited because it was an excess in liquidity because of all the stimuli that we got from the government due to the COVID crisis. So you can come up if you have the data and you can support your statements when there is nothing wrong in trying to understand the causes and effects. But do it always based on some kind of evidence. Anyway, so I think this is what happens. We got too excited. We arrived to the power law. The power law became almost like a kind of resistance. The Bitcoin was not ready to cross, and this created this lack of liquidity. So we are too high relatively to where we should be. We should be here, right, below there, but we are here. So the fact that the price went up, it looks always nice, because it feels good. But in a sense, I kind of liked it that it was going down, because that means that these two things are going to cross sooner. With the price going up, if there is not a further correction, this means that this crossing is going to be delayed. So before I was actually projecting it around the beginning of November. If the price stays here and this curve continues to move along this direction, this is, again, I tell you always when I kind of improvise, and there are times where the data is more solid and more valid. In this case, I'm improvising, I can say. If it continues to go up in this way, drawing, I'm doing what I say people should not do. But you see how it's not really connecting two dots and say, okay, it looks like there is a pattern there. Like we can monitor it, right? We can continue to see if it goes up in this predictable way, if he continues. So it's more like a guess, right? If he continues to do this is where I'm expecting it to meet. That is at the end of a month now, because we went up with the price. So it depends what happens, right? If this goes down, it will happen a little bit earlier. If this goes up, it will happen a little bit later. But given this pattern as repeated in the past many times, this is what I'm expecting. That I want to see some green before I feel confident that the bull market started, right? So we should start to see some switch of a color to go to green. So this is what I'm thinking about these. Let's continue to monitor. Let's see what happens. Now, if we switch to these indicators, these are how things look like. And I'm going to show you both linearly and logarithmically, so you can have a feeling of what is ahead of us, right? So just to explain this indicator is the power law. We have a white line, which is supposed to represent the power law. We have the support line, which is here. Right now, it's about $32,000. This one is a little bit higher. It's based on what we call the full model. So it's another kind of level that it's kind of a support, but a little bit higher. And this is really the radical support where we basically never go below this. This one is more close to actually the liquidity model. This is what the liquidity model says, that we should be around 40,000. And this full model is still the power law. It still has the general trend, but it includes the bubbles and represents the bubble, like these oscillations around the power law, and also tries to include some kind of bottom here, to tell us, okay, the price goes up, when it goes down. So it's trying to reproduce the general up and down behavior during the bubbles. Then the beauty of doing it in this way, you can write an equation, then you can project this equation to the future, because it's simple equation. So it's a predictive model, right? If you write an equation, you just plug in the future time and you can project it to the future. And the future, I don't know why there are still people challenging me with that, say, oh, what are your make your prediction. I make predictions all the time. It's people that come to my X, they don't know me, they don't know anything, they just got exposed to the power law. Please do some work. I have an entire YouTube channel of hundreds of hours where I talk about these kind of things. So I don't understand why there are some people that are still, they don't know all the aspects of what I did. Maybe not all, but at least some of the basics. We do make projections now, and we stand by our projection mostly because the main thing is consistency, right? We say, listen, they can be wrong, but the entire premise. So if you understand the premise, then you know what to expect, right? You cannot tell me, oh, you made this prediction. I don't make predictions, because that is the other thing. There are people that make prediction based on feelings. I have this feeling, I never do that. I will never do that. I don't base my predictions on feelings. I'm basing it on a method. And I've written an entire article on that method, different from other people that make up stuff. I write an entire article. There is an entire article on Medium, on the newsletters, where we explain how we arrived to this value. Okay, it's consistent, it's logical, it follows a method. Now you can agree or disagree on the method. You say, no, I think you did something wrong, this doesn't make sense. But at least you can see that I made an effort in trying to use logic and science. And when you do that, you always look at the premise. What is the premise? The premise is if everything repeats like before. And because Bitcoin has been so regular, even, for example, see, one of the regularity that people, I don't know if everybody's aware, but you see how these peaks go down over time. I was very surprised to find out that this decay of the peaks, it's also an equation. And when you do the model based on the equation, it's, by the way, an exponential, because there are certain things that are exponential in Bitcoin. The decay of the tops is an exponential. When you do it, even if you have only few points, that is the main limitations of this method, it looks like a nice, very precise equation. Where when you use, for example, regression, right? You can do regression of these. It looks like a line. If you plot it, you don't do the log of a time. You just do the log of a y-axis, and you plot. What you plot in that case are the deviations, right? So you have these deviations from the trend. When you plot it, it looks like a straight line if you do the log versus the time. And then you can measure the slope of that line, and that line gives you how fast the price is decaying. And you can use it to make a prediction, because you could say, well, if it worked for the first bubble, it worked for the second bubble, it worked for the third bubble. In my model, I didn't include the early bubble because I consider it anomaly. But other people that work on the power law included it and show that actually even that one fits the straight line. And so if you use the straight line, in theory, you could have used the first three. If you include the first one, you could have used the 3 dots and then predict the fourth one. And one of us did that, and he was able to predict the fourth one, within few $1,000s. Okay, so it's a way to show it works. We could have predicted this bubble by using the other 3. Okay, now do we have strong reasons to believe that this will apply to the fourth one? Yes and no. In one sense, we say, okay, it looks like there is a pattern. I don't understand the pattern. It's very difficult to explain it because it's differently from the general behavior. That is, we have thousands of points. There is all this scaling variance idea. This one, it's all FOMO. So I don't know. It's one of the mysteries. This is why I'm telling you, Bitcoin is so different from anything else. When even these things that should not be predicted, because I'm expecting, sure, maybe they go down, but why in this very, very precise fashion? It's crazy. Maybe, they go down, but there is not really a straight line, in a log linear graph. There is, I don't know how to explain it, okay? But it's there. So you observe it, and then you say, okay, under this assumption that the decay will continue to be the same, then I can make an estimation of how big the next bubble hits. Where it's going to be, because they are also very regular, they happen at very precise places, and how big it's going to be. So at least you know what I'm basing my reasoning. You know what are the premises. Now, if the premises are broken, like for example, let's say this time Bitcoin decided to break that pattern, it's not going to happen. Then okay, we can go higher, we can go lower, but it's not something wrong about the modeling, because all what you want from modeling, that they are self-consistent and they are based on some argument that kind of makes sense. Okay, now it could be something wrong, right? In these premises, it's possible that there is something different this time. Yeah, we always are open to that. Okay, but then see the beauty of doing also this, even when you are wrong, then at least you can monitor it and say, look, this is the projected path. It looks like Bitcoin is doing something different. We are much higher. We are much lower. The growth is not happening. So it still gives you some guidance. There is still usefulness. Even in the power law, that I don't think it will be broken ever, that they're going to up in this fashion until basically hyper-Bitcoinization. This is my prediction of what is going to happen. But even if it was broken, we will have a way of telling that is still useful. You're still driving with lights on. This is what they say is the power law is. It gives you some indication of what to expect based on previous behavior and logical arguments that they should continue to do the same thing because of what I'm repeating, scaling variance. One day, I'm going to make an entire video on scaling variance. We do have a video on scaling variance, that my son made. But I will show you different examples. I will show you how it can be applied, why it's a logical argument, etc. But even if it was broken, we know when that happens, and we can monitor it, and we can learn things, and we can say, okay, it's doing something different, And you know what? I was just thinking last night, because people ask all the time, how do we know that the power law is broken? We know exactly what to expect, because the bubble are exactly that, So the bubble are time where we leave the power law and we do something different. The only thing is, it's broken for 1 year, and then Bitcoin doesn't like it. Said, you know what? I'm changing my mind. I had enough fun being exponential. I went crazy. Let me go back where I feel comfortable, right? And he goes back. He always goes back to the power law. It has done this over and over again. So we do need. So now I know what to answer. And people say, "How do we know what?" Yeah, you know exactly. Look what happened to the bubble. The only difference is, instead of correcting like it always does, it will continue to go like that. But I think it's impossible because there is not enough liquidity. It's a crazy behavior. There is nothing to support that. I calculated, just to give you a feeling. Imagine we went up under this pace for this bubble. Imagine if we didn't correct, right? And you continue to go exponentially. Calculated, right now we will be about $7 million. So imagine, in few years, we went from, $10,000 when the bull market started, or even less, to $7 million. It will be crazy. It will be crazy. But it'll be where this money come from. We will need orders of magnitude bigger inflow than we have right now from the ETFs. And the ETFs were already kind of a big deal. It's kind of stretching a little bit what is possible in terms of infrastructure, in terms of telling people, go ahead and buy Bitcoin or something that is related to Bitcoin. It's non-imaginable in realistic terms that something like that can happen. And people that tell you and sell that bullshit, they're doing a disservice. They are not based on reality. And I think, it's nice to have memes, it's nice to have fun, etc. But present it as a meme and have fun, because sometimes, we want to get entertained and it's boring, the market is flat, whatever. But present it as a meme, not as a serious argument, because you're misguiding people. It's really horrible when that happened to me, because I take seriously this stuff. You want real information. You want to take actions based on real information, not some bullshit wishful thinking. So I'm sorry if this seems negative towards other influencers, but I'm reacting also as people that consume this information. When I get, this post popping up in my feed and I see people talking about bullshit, it makes me angry. It really makes me upset, because I think it's important to uh, serious discussions about Bitcoin. Anyway, so under these premises that everything repeats like before, including the decay, I'm projecting a top around 208. And then should be, and here we have, like, I will say, even a couple of months. So usually we never go towards January or February. It's more like maybe October, between October and December. So this is when we are expecting, 2025, the top to happen. So we will monitor, we will look up, on a regular basis. Maybe I can do this weekly meetings every, on a regular basis. In particular, something happens, and we can monitor. We can see what happened. We can look at all the other indicators. We can look at liquidity. Maybe we can look also what happens in Nasdaq, SP 500, because sometimes there are correlations. In particular, when there is a lot of money that is moved, all the other assets get impacted too. So we can look at how Bitcoin correlates with all these other things. I want to do it in a systematic fashion based on I don't want to use any stupid TA. Oh, let's connect this dot with this other dot. All based on science. So it's different from what everybody else does. Now, this indicator here is more about the timing of things. It's like basically a sine wave version of a clock that maybe you have seen me posting it on my website. It's based on this idea from the rational root, where he draws Bitcoin in a circular pattern. We did something similar, but the difference from what he does, I make it in a real clock, and where I have different hours. And 12 is the top, 3 is the bottom. There is this transition from bear to bull, that is 6. The frenzy bull, what we call the transition to full bull, happens at 9. So with this clock, also I plot how the power laws, the two power laws, the simple power law, the straight line in the log graph, and the full model. The full model here is the orange curve, and the straight line is the red curve. So you can see actually how the power law looks like. And usually there is this switch, right, where the full model is on top when we are close to the top. Then we switch, and the red curve, it's on top when we reach the bottom. And then there is this switch. So you can actually look at how the power laws relate to this way of representing the price in this kind of clock fashion. The beauty of this is that you can also project it to the future, and we know when this cusp is going to happen, right? Because this is similar to what happened here. That is basically the beginning of a bull market. You see, this is many things happen around here. There is a picking up of the pace. Sometimes it happens a little bit before, so it doesn't have to happen exactly there. It can be up to maybe when this becomes kind of orangey color. So here the color gradient is more about timing than deviations from the trend. So you get ready. That we're coming close to the bull market. Usually there are other things happening, like the crossing of the power law. That is an important moment when that happens. And it happens in a very decisive manner. We have this other indicator that also tell us we are in it's called a Hurst indicator. That is, it's a special form of a Hurst coefficient that is tailor-made for Bitcoin. And the idea is that as it becomes close to red, this indicator tell us we are in a trend pattern, right? A trend following pattern. So whenever this indicator goes from 0 to 1, when it's close to 1 means trend following, and when it's below 0.5, it means it is mean returning. So mean returning usually is associated with the bottom. The bottom always look like we are in this. It's almost like a switch. So we are usually below 0.5. It's associated with these bottoms. And when the bull market starts, we are usually in this regime where it's a very decisive pattern because it's an exponential. So it's another way of saying, well, we are going to continue with this trend for a while. Then you can see there is like a switch in color when basically we reach the top. So it's a very interesting and useful indicator. We use it together with everything else. And then we have this very, very, very important indicator that is kind of a core indicator because it's basically showing the deviation from the trend. And we did it in a way where basically all the tops are normalized, mostly because we kind of take in consideration this decay that is observed. So if you correct for that, then all the bubbles are normalized. And the beauty of this is that now you have basically what you can call a risk factor, risk of owning Bitcoin, because it's, I know that this can make some maxi mad, right? What is very odd? Well, if you own Bitcoin here, the risk is that it's going to crash on you. So that is a risk. And so will you not want to do something reasonable that is As we come close to 100, basically this indicator goes from 0 to 100. 0 is when we are close to the support line, 100 when we have really huge deviation that historically are associated with the tops. So you see how close they are associated with the tops, but in this case, both of them, both the two tops, where as you come, above 90, it's basically the top. It's basically the top, right? In all of them. It's almost like pinpointing the tops. Look at this. Here the top. Even the first bubble, crazy. All of them, So you basically know that when we are reaching this area, and you can put your threshold a little bit lower or whatever, you probably want to do something. Maybe even if you simply stop buying Bitcoin, buy just 50% and put 50% aside. So it depends on what you want to do. You can use it. There is an extreme range. Even the only one that will not make any use is somebody that never touch Bitcoin or doesn't want to change their way they buy Bitcoin. So in a person like that, like we say, we are not against the person like that. Fine, continue to do your thing. But if you want to optimize what you're doing, even just buying Bitcoin, doing it with this information and being aware. Now, my slogan is going to be forever. The slogan of this channel, the slogan of the Power Law is going to be. It's actually from Fermi. Knowledge is always better than ignorance. It's a fantastic, obvious, but it's a fantastic slogan, because there is no situation. I cannot imagine people come up, but in this case, I will not want to know about this. No, it's not true. Even if I don't want to know that my girlfriend is cheating. Well, okay, I want to know. I don't want to know that I have cancer. I want to know. Almost anything that you can imagine, I always want to know, because then you can make informed decisions. You can prepare yourself, at least, maybe you with that knowledge you get maybe resign, or maybe if you know that something is unavoidable, you're going to use that time in a more efficient way. It's always better to know. And if you're an adult, then you process the information, you make a plan, you make some decisions, you respond to the situation. So it's always better to know that not know. And so this is why we made these indicators, and you can use them. You can do different things. If you want to be a little bit more aggressive, say, okay, you know what, when this line goes above 90 and all the indicators, the liquidity, etc., tells me that something is going on here, I'm going to sell 20% of my Bitcoin, and I want to buy back. And again, you don't have to buy back here, because if you're afraid that the power law is not going to be followed or whatever, maybe you can start to buy back gradually as we go down. So you make a plan, make something that makes sense, spend some time studying. And this time, when we say study Bitcoin, well, okay, there are many things to study, right? One can spend a lot of time with history, the blockchain. One can spend really years and years studying Bitcoin, but this is also studying Bitcoin, something that actually more actionable, because knowing the blockchain is great, knowing self-custody is great, but this is actionable, right? This is actionable information. So when people say study Bitcoin, yeah, exactly, study this, because this is so important to understand, because everything is so regular. I cannot stand people say, oh, Bitcoin is so complex that basically can do everything he wants. Yeah, even going to zero. This is why I get upset, because my Italian passion comes into place, and I should be compassionate towards these people, but they don't know what they're talking about, literally, unless they have a second agenda that is, they are influencers. They want people to be kept in ignorance. They want to excite them. They want to get people coming into their channel, because what else they are talking about? They cannot talk about this stuff because they need to learn it and understand it. So they want to talk about wishful thinking, and so this kind of actually is almost bothering them, because they don't have anything to offer in comparison with somebody that actually gives you the detailed analysis of what is going on. So I want to hope that that is not a reason. It's all ignorance, and they don't like knowledge. But it's not my style for sure. I don't like it at all. But anyway, one last thing that maybe I want to show you. Oh, two things. One, it's kind of interesting. Let's switch to linear. Okay, so look at this. It's really interesting because I'm going to minimize this. Look at when people say, "Oh, 500,000." Maybe we go. I heard recently Adam Beck that was pushing this craziness, and people like him, right? He's supposed to be almost like Satoshi. I don't think so, but still somebody to respect, given his role in the community. But then he says things like, "Oh, we are going 500,000." You realize where $5,000 is? It's over there. Look in a linear graph. How crazy! It's already crazy to think we go there. Look at where the other bubbles are. Look where Bitcoin is. Okay, previously, and you are telling me we go there? It's crazy. I don't think so. Okay, it's now if we go there, I will be happy. I have more to sell, when we go there. And we are not attached to this. It's not that we are telling you when that reaches that. We will monitor, what is going on. So one of the things that actually we can do to know what is happening, in fact, even predict ahead if we are on target versus, if we are going really close. And by the way, this is how the power law looks like in a linear fashion, right? It looks curved, like people that think it's a straight line, they don't understand it. It's actually a straight line in a log graph, but in a linear graph, it looks like this. It's very fast. It's faster than parabolic. When you say parabolic is a square. This is a 6, the power of 6. So it goes really, really fast. It can go faster than an exponential. It depends how fast the exponential is. Okay. Right now, for example, we beat all the other exponential assets like SP 500 and NASDAQ. They go up exponential, basically following inflation, but they don't go as fast as this. Okay. So eventually an exponential catches up with a power law. But for example, NASDAQ, SP 500, it will take 40 years to catch up with the power law. Right now we are going faster up through the power law than if we were exponential. Okay, but usually during the bubble, we go actually exponential. And so what happens, we have this other indicator that I can show you here. It is basically a measure of the volatility. So or returns per day. So let me show you this indicator. This indicator shows the blue line. The blue line is what the power law says the returns are. And if you look over time, these returns go down. It's a fact. It's a simple fact, and it's part of what the power law is about. That is basically saying we have like brakes. We have brakes. It's a car with brakes, and for some reason, as it becomes bigger and bigger, as Bitcoin becomes bigger and bigger, it wants to slow down. It needs to slow down because there is more money to be managed. It's a bigger system, etc. So it cannot do the kind of almost shitcoin stuff that it was doing when it went within a few months 30 times up. We cannot do that things anymore. We went from being a baby to doing adult things. Okay, so we cannot expect, how baby run all the time. I look at them sometimes and say, what the heck? I wish I had that mitochondria, the mitochondria in the cells produce all that energy. Their mitochondria are so amazing. And they are cute, right? You want to give them a kiss and say, hug them, they are cute. Kids are cute. But, you cannot be a kid when you're an adult. You cannot go running like that. People will look at you like crazy. First of all, you don't even have the energy for it. But it's also not the right thing to do. So when Bitcoin was a little kid, they could do all these kid things. Now it's more like an adult. It's a grown up and it's doing grown up things. So you cannot imagine that it's going to do crazy stuff like he was doing it in the beginning. This is why he's slowing down, and this is the right thing to do. So the blue curve shows you, that what the predicted returns for the power law is, and you can see that the white curve. What is the white curve? It's basically an average, and you can choose, through the bolt, you can choose if you want to do a 2 months average, a 3 months average, etc. But if you do, like in this case, a 2-month average, it's basically the returns average over the time. And you can see as you go back in the history of Bitcoin that you always oscillate around the blue curve. So really, truly, it's not just this tell us there is something deeper as part of a statistical property of Bitcoin. The power law is part of a statistical property of Bitcoin. It's not just a line. It's something very fundamental about how Bitcoin works. The returns over time follow the blue line, that is the predicted returns calculated from the power law. Now I drew, so the gray one are basically the daily returns, like the instantaneous returns. And it's kind of useful because and that is red and green line represents deviations, like a one standard deviation, that are very large. And so if you look at the chart above, where we have price, right? Every time we go above the red line, it's like a place where probably there is a correction. So maybe you can use it to wait to buy a dip. If we have the dip really is associated with when we go across that, in the other direction, where the price really becomes returns for that day becomes really small, is basically a sign that there is a dip, and that you can use that to buy the dip, like here, for example. So it's a really useful indicator. But in general, the white line, right, tell us how we are doing in terms of returns over a certain period of time. So as we go towards the bubble, we can monitor it and we can see where it is. I draw 2 lines. One is what I'm expecting. So right now, just to give you a feeling, the power law says we should do about 1.001 return. So that means 0.1% per day in average. You will think it's very small, but if you compound it over 1 year, you get about 44%. That is what it is. So if you do 0.1% a day over an entire year, you get about 44%. And so by all the things that I explained you before with the decay, etc., we can calculate what we are expecting the returns during the next bubble. And this is the green line. That returns is 1.033 or about 0.3%. So about 3 times what we are making right now. You see, that is another reason why the idea of selling at the top, it's a decent idea, because you had about 1 year where we're making 3 times more returns than what the power law says we should make. And then you said, you know what, I'd made these returns for an entire year, 3 times more than I should. Maybe it's a good idea to get, to lock in some gains. Not maybe everything, just hold most of your Bitcoin, a little bit. So I can put it aside. I'm not a child. I'm not going to something stupid. I'm not going to buy candies with this cash. I'm going to put it aside where when we go back, I buy more Bitcoin because I want more Bitcoin. If you're a serious person, if you're not a child, you can do it. You are not going to be tempted in doing stupid things. If you are tempted, then it's a problem with you, not with the idea. Anyway, so the green line shows where we should be. In fact, we need to have a white line above the green line for about 1 year to reach 200,000. So we will be able to monitor it and see, are we on track? Are we on track? Is the white line in average above the green line? And that if we do that consistently for about 1 year, starting November all the way to the other November, so for a long period of time, 1 year. Now, we can dip, we can go higher, but we can calculate the average, right? We need to be above the green line for 1 year. to get to 200,000. Here I drew this other line that is what we need to do, the type of returns we need to have to actually reach 500,000. But again, you can see even here, like there are times when that happens momentarily, like when we have when we are like the crazy euphoria during. So this is not the bubble, right? This is when we went from the bottoms, recent bottom here at $16,000. We got really excited because of the ETFs, and for a short moment, for a few days, we were above this 0. This is at 0.6%, basically 63%. If we stay above for 1 year, this purple line, then we will reach 500,000. But you see, 1 year, if we start here, right? If a bull market starts here, then we're talking about here. So all this span, can you imagine continuously be there for 1 year? It really almost never happens. Okay. Well, okay. Here when we have these crazy tops, we stay there for several months, but these were the crazy tops. Imagine to do that now for an entire year. This is how we reach 500,000. So it's a very cool tool that you see right now, for example, how we are picking up because the price went up, so the returns start to be actually above, slightly above what the power law says we should be, because actually we were below. I should put I think I should put actually another line here to 1. 1 is basically when you have losing return. So if you are below 1, I need to add another reference line at 1, because if you are below 1, basically that means you are losing money. So imagine we have a line here at 1. This is where the power law says we are. It's about 0.1% a day is what we call it. And this curve very slowly is going down. In 20 years from now, we will be not 44%, but like close to 25%, something like that. Anyway, I didn't look at the screen, so I don't know if you are actually asking questions. So probably yes, you are. So I'm going to take some of the questions. All the models will be broken. Okay, we heard that so many times. It's just pure bullshit. It's not even a model. It's just reality. That is great. Your business opportunity, Joe. Can you tell us more about this indicator? Shed light on what happened today, please. Yeah, I mean, the indicator really don't tell you things like this. What happened today? We can look it up. Did anything happen? Sometimes people don't realize when you have these returns like these, it could be just a bunch of that, just what the volatility does. So sometimes you get a bunch of positive returns, sometimes you get a bunch of negative returns. I don't see anything that I know that is really like a change in regime or anything. It went up. I look at more the general patterns and the long-term trends, than what happens day by day, because there is not really the right information. And even if it was like something, okay, that euphoria brought the price up, based on what, right? How that help us to understand what is going to happen in the next few months. It doesn't. So I don't focus on things like that. Ciao, Joe. Hi, Brian. Okay. Love the analogy. I monetize all my video. We don't get a lot from monetizing the videos, but it helps, because it's part of all the things that we do to support our work. So apologies for that. Just hopefully you can skip when the commercials happen. Is BTC price? Yeah. So BTC is overpriced right now. So we are overpriced in terms of liquidity, right? Remember, I show you. So to summarize, and then we can close I was planning to do 1 hour, but we are almost 2 hours. It's okay. Hopefully, it's something useful. But to summarize, right now we don't have enough liquidity. The good news is that, if we go back to the liquidity indicator, the good news is that liquidity is growing, is going up, and in particular, given the relationship with Bitcoin, because remember, it's not just about liquidity going up, but how the price responds to the liquidity is responding in such a way that the purple line, you can think about what is a fair value for Bitcoin based on liquidity. So that value seems to go up since basically July. We're going up, 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 up. Hopefully, we continue to go in that way. But we also want two things. So the price stays more or less where it is. Because, I mean, the price can continue to go up, right? But given what happened before and given even the logic, we really want to have the right conditions. We want everything to be ready. It's almost like you're preparing for this rocket. You want the right fluid, you want the right temperature for the fluid, inside the rocket. You want all the right conditions. You want to make sure the weather is right, that there are no hurricane winds, that can interfere with your rocket launch. You want all the right conditions to come there to support this rocket launch, right? And so the price going up, it feels good momentarily, but it's not really supporting what we are trying to do here. The price going down feels bad, but actually is going to make things a little bit more rational and coming closer, to where these two things cross. Maybe should stay here. I know it's boring and people don't like it, but I think staying where it is, or maybe even going a little bit down, is a little bit better for preparing for the bull market. So again, whatever Bitcoin does, whatever Bitcoin does, but we are trying to understand. So right now, yes, it's overvalued for many different reasons. Now, I do have another indicator. Maybe we can talk about next week, where we can compare what happened at this point in the previous cycle. So I have another indicator like that. I want to pull it up, and I'm trying to close the meeting. But we are more or less where we were in other cycles. So the first cycle was almost like textbook in terms of how it followed the power law to a dot, and in fact, at that time, we were really close to the support line all the way to when the bull market started. It is, in our case, November of this year. And then it started to pick up then. But up to that point, it was really, really close to the support line. And this time we are above, right? Much higher than the support line. So this gives also some insights when we compare what Bitcoin is doing now relatively to other cycles. But right now, my conclusion is we are still very close to everything going right. I think the only big difference is this liquidity that is now there. But things seems to go in the direction where it will be there. And then when it will be there, when this green signal will flash, I will feel more confident to say, okay, I think we are ready. Then we can also monitor the returns, see if we start to go towards about 0.3%, because we need serious. And usually, this is the other thing. It happens when the bull market starts. It's pretty consistent in terms of the returns. There will be variation, there are drops and whatever, but usually they are very consistent. So once we see this indicator, that is the liquidity indicator, that will be another sign. You see, everything that I'm showing you is not stupid TA, it's not golden cross. It's real stuff, right? Real math. So once we cross this green line, we need to bring this white line all the way to the green line. Once we go the green line, we will know that we are in this regime where we have a chance to get to 200,000. Now, we could have better than that, and we will be able to monitor. We say, oh, okay, what have been the returns in the last month? 0.44. Oh, it looks almost like the previous bull, because the previous bull we were about 0.44. You see, I'm expecting to go down, to be not as good as the last bull, or of course the previous one. But at some point we say we are doing 1% a day. What the heck? Do you think I will be upset about that because it doesn't go according to my prediction? The bubble, you have to understand, the bubble are not the power law. It's just something in addition based also on the power law, because it's all based on the deviations, etc. But I don't have a problem with that part being broken, because if we do, I will be sad if we do 100,000 instead of 200. But hopefully we go higher. That is not really part of the power law. It will be weird because we broke this pattern of a decay. That is one more thing that the Bitcoin is very regular, and we will learn to understand why. But I will be happy because I have more Bitcoin to sell, so I can buy more Bitcoin at the bottom. I mean, it's not that I have more Bitcoin to sell it. The Bitcoin that I have, but more Bitcoin will be valued more. You know what I mean? I will get more USDT, so I can buy more Bitcoin later. Anyway, so I think I answered all your questions. Those daily return indicators work on the 1 day. It works for any. So one day on when this is 1 day, but it works also for smaller amounts, all the way down to minutes or whatever. If you want, or you can put it on weeks. You can put it on whatever. I'm going to improve this indicator because there are a lot of really cool things about looking at the returns instead of looking at the price. So I'm always improving these indicators. I'm always making better. And by the way, I'm going to give you the link for the indicators, so you can actually go there. So this is my article where I describe Bitcoin like a network. But okay, here, let me write this for you. I'm going to put it in the chat. Okay, so this is the link in the chat that gives you, sends you to where you can get the indicators. And if you need any help, please DM me on X or DM me on Discord when you get in on Discord. But come and join us, because it's very cool. One time I will show you around the Discord how it looks like. We have a ton of channels. We do talk a little bit about other coins. Mostly we have a contingent of Kaspa enthusiasts. We are not excluding anybody, but because we are semi-maxi, this is what I will say, we put them in a ghetto. We say, go there is just a channel where you can only talk about Kaspa or any other coin on this channel, nothing else. That this is how we deal with that. We don't want to exclude them and being assholes at the same time, because we want to be. I really believe that Bitcoin is really the only coin that is worthwhile to own, unless once I even played one time with Doge. Doge was going up. I bought a little bit of Doge. I made $2,000. Goodbye, and selling this shit. That is one of the things I don't like about Elon Musk. He's an idiot. He should support Bitcoin, not Doge. He's so stupid. I like Musk in certain things. Other things he drives me nuts. But there is a channel for that. If you want to discuss crypto, do it only there. There are recording of all our meetings. We have a channel for suggestions if you want to help us improve things. It's a very nice active community, people sharing some of the work they're doing, some of the mods of indicators. It's really, really a good resource if you're interested in using this resource. Maybe next video I can give you a walkthrough of all the things we do. On Fridays, we discuss coding. Like I show you how to use Pine Script, that is the code for the trading view. And there are people, that had zero knowledge of coding. Like there is like somebody that I like a lot is a cook in Netherlands, and he never coded in his life, and now he's making his own little Pine Script codes. That is so cool. And we'll do also Python, where you can learn how to do the power law yourself, because I think every single Bitcoiner should learn how to do that. Maybe even using Excel if you don't want to use Python. So we have that class is a completely free class once you get in the in our community. On Wednesdays we read the book Scale by Jeffrey West. This book that talks about power laws in general, all around us, in life, in biology, in society. And so we study the book together. It's really cool. I'm very proud of this community. So if you like to join us, please do. Okay. All right. So I think I'm going to conclude here. We went almost 2 hours. So thank you so much to participate and be interested in these kind of things. All right. Thank you, guys.